Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Ariella Brown and I serve as the chair for the third annual Black Farming, Roots, Food, and Storytelling. I want to welcome you all here today.
Kevin McGruder, Associate Professor of History, Antioch College.
My name is Cheryl Smith, and I am a member of the Black Farming Conference Committee from its inception, and also a member of the Agraria Board.
I'm Beth Bridgeman, and I'm a professor at Antioch College. I work in the co-op department, and I teach sustainable practice.
My name is Susan Jennings. I'm Executive Director of the Agraria Center for Regenerative Practice.
Living in Yellow Springs, which is surrounded by farms, really inspired me to think about my own family's history with farming, which I knew a fair amount about. My great-grandfather, Charles McGruder, bought a farm, about a 300-acre farm in 1894 in Alabama, and it remained in the family over the generations. And so moving here, I was beginning to think about that and our connection to the land and what a difference it made in terms of even the kind of education we were to get. It wasn't great wealth, but it was a level of independence that we had that I know some other people in that area of Hale County didn't have. And so moving here and seeing all the different activities related to farming, I was also interested in thinking about, well, what is the connection to Black people in farming? There was a level of independence that I'm sure that land ownership gave them. And yes, there were barriers, but there were some things they were able to do. And so that's really where my kind of the core of my interest in exploring that. And it connects with my research interests in race and real estate, that I understand that owning makes a difference. And farming is what we were doing. And we wanted to do. We got pushed out of farming. Like there's the dominant narrative is that, oh, Black people didn't want to do that after enslavement. Some did not, but a lot did, and a lot accomplished that. And it's really that period between the end of Reconstruction and the 1890s in the South when they get pushed out of it. Most people would prefer to farm and control their life than to work for somebody for wages, which they knew would be sub-wages. Yellow Springs, yes, was different, but, there's still those barriers. And so that's the appeal of farming. You control your hours. Yes, they're hard. It's hard work, but you're the one controlling that if you're owning that. And so all of those things are what, got me interested.
My initial introduction to somebody working with Agraria was through a food summit that I attended in Dayton, Ohio. I met Susan there, and I was absolutely compelled to find some way to impact the situation that had developed in Dayton with the food insecurities, food deserts, the lack of accessibility, as well as the gentrification of the land there. So my concern was, how were African Americans going to sustain themselves over generations. So when I talked with Susan and she talked about the possibility of doing a Black farming, I thought, there's the answer. We need to encourage, sustain, support, and highlight Black farming. I feel that historically, the disconnect between the land and African people started when they became enslaved and they were taught to hate the land. So reconnecting with the land, re-ownership of the land, redevelopment of the land, bringing African wisdom to the land was something that I thought this conference can highlight all of that. So I've been very excited about that, and I feel generationally this is the beginning of a new era in Black people and their relationship with the land. So I'm really excited about that. I met some incredible presenters. Amazing things are going on throughout the nation. I'm excited about what's happening at Agraria, in Ohio in general. And it seems to have really stimulated conversation in other other areas of the movement. Black activists are getting more and more involved with the land. Black churches are interested in doing some things, and black children in school are being taught more about their history and what the land means to them. So that's how I got involved, and that's why I'm here.
I'm really interested in regenerative agriculture and regenerative practice, and for me it really is all about my students. And young people are really yearning for knowledge. They're yearning for ancestral knowledge. Black young people are 1 or 2 generations away from having access to the land and access to what is their birthright and their heritage. And so I'm really so pleased that this is coming around again. And I think we need to be thinking about resilience and reciprocity. And so I work in my classes with traditional ecological knowledge of indigenous folks, and so much of the germplasm, the seed genetics in the United States is based on seed from the African diaspora. So many of our yams and just so many different things we wouldn't have without the knowledge of those folks who came here. Indigo, there's a white plantation woman who's credited with starting indigo. She didn't start any. The folks who knew how to grow indigo started indigo in this country. And so, we owe so much to black farmers and black cultural heritage. And I'm just so pleased to see so many young black students and black young farmers, getting back into the field. And now our next work is reparations and, land access.
Honestly, most black people have the same history as it relates to their agrarian roots. And so I am a native Clevelander. My grandparents were part of the America's Great Migration. And so both of my maternal and paternal grandparents actually came from Alabama, Eufaula and Birmingham. And so to me, this work really is something that I'm giving back to my ancestors and my family. So obviously, black and underrepresented folks always have, in our history, a lack of access to resources. So I want to say that I think that this conference really does allow us to provide resources to, number one, anyone who has access to internet and is really interested in the topics and the information that we're trying to bring to people. And again, it's really about bringing resources that are untapped, that folks are just not aware of, and trying to really break those barriers. One challenge that we have not overcome is really reaching our young people. That is a huge deficit. I mention my little cousin a lot. I have tried to do everything that I can to make sure she is set up for success. She has always wanted to be a veterinarian. And so to me, it's important to really figure out ways to help young people because we know that the average age of our farming community is 60. And so that's close to retirement. And so how are we going to make sure that we are teaching young people that there is so much diversity in agriculture? It's a huge industry. We know that 1 in 7 jobs is attributed to the economy here in Ohio. And so it's a huge business. And so we need to figure out ways to really reach our young people. That's one deficit that we have not really filled. And so, I want to, work with some of our conference partners and anyone who is attending our conference to really help us figure out ways to reach more young people.
Although Agraria itself is only 5 years old, the organization that founded Agraria Community Service was founded in 1940. And so for each of the last 82 years, we've hosted at least one conference and sometimes several conferences. And I think that for me, the really exciting things about conferences in general, or the ones that we've been hosting, is that it's an opportunity for us to invite people to speak that we don't feel like have a platform in other places. So it's always been an exciting way for us to kind of promote people who have a really important story to tell, who are maybe not being invited and don't have necessarily the kind of platform that they should have. And so I feel like each of the last years, like, basically we're learning along with the whole audience. The audience is changing. People are getting more sophisticated. They're understanding more. So that's really exciting, because the conference started out as a let's all learn about something that nobody knows anything about. And now 2 years on, not only do we know more, but we're also doing more. There were a lot of amazing projects and programs that came out of that first Black Farming Conference. So that's extremely exciting to me. It's not just talk. There's a lot of doing going on. So two of the very important things that have come out of the Black Farming Conference, the first year, right after the conference, when we realized how excited people were and how much they wanted to be in conversation and really were hungry for community. I think that's a big part of it, that people really wanted to be talking with other people who are thinking and doing some of the same things. So the Black Farming, or the BIPOC Farming Network, came out of that, and we meet quarterly. There's a lot of really great conversations going on. A lot of other workshops have come out of that, and partnerships, and it's just been a really amazing opportunity for people to connect with one another. And then the other thing that came out directly of the Black Farming Conference and then the network is that we developed a Regenerative Fellows training program primarily for BIPOC farmers. We're now toward the end of our second year. If you stick around in this conference, you'll get a chance to hear some of our current fellows speak to what they're learning. But that's been a very exciting way for us to, again, move away from talking, although talking is a really important thing and an important way that we share information. But it's really fun to also be in the actualizing, creating more Black farmers.